You and Will are like brothers.
Yes.
How did that relationship start?
So, I was born in Sapang Bato, Angeles City.
Shout out!
Yeah.
We have Kapampangans in the studio also.
Yes. What's up, Kabalens? What's up? So, my dad was in the U.S. Air Force. Not my mother. And
Biological.
yeah.
Okay.
And then he left before I was even born.
Dang.
But my mom discovered a foundation called Pearless Buck Foundation, where they support abandoned Amerasian kids. You know those commercials. Send 75 cents to a kid. And they get sponsors from the U.S. And they send you tuition fees and school supplies for the school year, and then in return you get to go to the facility and take photos of all the items,
Right.
and then show receipts as well.
Yes, so that they know it's really going to the kid.
Yeah. And then in return you get to write a thank you letter, and then in my thank you letter I would actually apologize to my dad. I'm sorry, Mr. Hudgens, that my math grade is low because I have a rare condition called nystagmus and I can't see the board. So by telling him that story, that led to him bringing me to the U.S. back in '86 and
Wow.
have my condition checked by top ophthalmologists around Jules Stein and Beverly Hills. But come to find out, it was too late. I needed to be under 7 years old.
How old were you at the time?
I was, I think, 11.
In 86.
Yeah.
Question.
Yeah, stop adding the math. Okay?
Okay, question.
And then, so by telling him that story, when I was here in the U.S., we went to during our breaks, right? We would go to Disneyland.
Right.
And Universal Studio. And I'm like, oh my God, this is America. I'm like, I was a kid, right? I used to watch Knight Rider in
Yes.
Philippines. And, kid, so it was in a Universal Studio attraction, right? So I got to sit in there, I'm talking to kid, but they were just probably a mic and, next door, hey, what's up, kid? You ready to ride? You want to get ready to get McDonald's? Drive through, right? Drive through only, buddy. So I was just like, Mr. Hudgens, can I stay longer? I was like, or would you adopt me?
Oh
and he's
my
like,
God.
oh, well, son, let me talk to your mother and the Philippine government. Let's see what we could do, And then months later, he processed the adoption. And then 3 years later in '89, I got to the U.S. And then my adopted father was best friend with Will.i.am's uncle.
What?
He's the first person I met when I got to America. My dad needed a babysitter on the weekdays because he goes to work.
Yeah.
So Will's uncle suggested Will.i.am's mom.
And you weren't in school at the time? Not yet.
Not yet. I wasn't enrolled yet. And then they took me to East LA to meet this kid to hang out with, and it was Will.
Did you connect right away?
At first, he was pissed off, He was like, yeah, because he told me later why, because he had a girlfriend, a new girlfriend in school, right? So now he has to miss a couple of days of school to hang out with this guy from the Philippines, And it's like, what? Who's this guy? Where's Philippines? I'd never heard of that place anyway, But then I got to the house, and Will comes down, and then he's like, he's looking at me like exotic, fruit animal, it's like, you from the Philippines? What do you do there? What do you do there? I'm like, I go to school, I go farming, take care of water buffaloes, and I break down. It's like, what? You have a pet bison? I'm like, yeah, I do. And he's like, you know how to break dance? And I was like, yeah. I just learned this new dance move called the Running Man.
Oh,
I saw it on a Pepsi commercial. Michael Jackson,
Right.
The Next Generation, and they were doing the Running Man on the stairs in one place. I'm like, what the hell is that dance? You know. So I was practicing that, and then when I met Will, that's the first dance I showed him was the Running Man.
and he knew. And then, when
And then he was like, "You know the Running Man?" I was like, "Yeah, I ran here from the Philippines." Nah. Yeah. And then I showed him the Running Man, and then after that, he started going to my house instead of me going to his house every weekend. He started going to my house every weekend, and then when I was enrolled, I started meeting other Filipinos, and they would invite us to house parties.
us, which meant that you and Will were like that already.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we got started in the Filipino scene by performing at house parties.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's how I met Will.
You know what? It was so surreal because my band Intro Voice performed at SIPA.
Yeah.
And they said Black Eyed Peas performed here first.
Yeah. That was our home. That's where we practiced. That's where we did our first show. It's a place to go to, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
With regard, okay, so now you
Shout
and
out
Will,
to SIPA. SIPA,
Shout
what's
out.
up? One love.
like you and Will were hanging out. When did Taboo come into the picture? When did Harry come into the picture?
Yeah, so we were like popular in the Filipino scene, right?
Just
And then-
both of you, huh?
Tribal Nation. That was the name of our crew. And then a friend of ours was like, "Yo, you guys are big in the Asian scene, but you got to go to Hollywood to get the rest of the world, you know?" And so he told us about a club called Ballistics.
Okay.
And it was thrown by David Faustino by Married with Children, Bud.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bud Bundy. So he used to throw that club, and then we started going there, and Will started joining the rap battle, and I was joining the dance battle, and then so Will ran that for like 2 summers, you know.
Wow.
And then we battled Taboo's crew on a dance floor.
Oh my
in
God.
the Ballistics. And then, afterwards, become friends and stuff. And we liked his energy. We're like, yo, this guy's like a character, you know? He's like, yeah, he had that charisma, and we were like, yo, you wanna join our crew? And that's how we met Tab.
Well, like when you say you want to join our crew, dance crew or
No,
rap
like
crew?
our
Hip hop already.
Yeah, because he was like good with the crowd, right? And me and Will are kind of like, we're kind of pretty chill, I'm pretty shy being on stage, I just act all the time. But Tab will get down there, get the crowd involved. We're like, yo, we need that guy, for especially hip hop, you need the crowd participation. You want everyone involved, So we got Tab, and that's how we got Tab. That's how we recruited Taboo.
So now you, Will, Tab.
Yeah.
When did you guys sit down and said we're gonna rule the world? Was there a goal, or was it just blind movement?
No, it's always been a dream, even from we were shopping our demos, right? To record companies, and they were like, it's cool, but it's not tangible. We're like, tangible? Is that like an orange?
Tangerine.
So look it up. Will looked it up in the dictionary. It's like, oh,
tangible.
Yeah, something you could hold, All right, we're gonna put more tangerine in our. Just kidding. And so,
So rejection was part of the whole deal.
So yeah, back then too, it was predominantly gangster music,
Right.
In LA. So we were like these weird kids, like hip hop, break dancers. So, and we just started doing our own shows. We started doing our shows at colleges, at Loyola Marymount, to UCLA, USC, UC Irvine, to the Valley, and And we started our following that way.
So pretty much DIY, huh? Do it yourself.
Yeah, we got everyone's addresses, and then we send a flyer for the next show before Facebook, you know?
Yeah.
You know, so we did that. And then there was always like, I remember like, I wanted to, you know, I guess I started getting homesick, you know? And I was like, Mr. Hudgens, can you send me back home now? You know? And he's like, son, it took a while for the papers to process, and you're here to stay. You know, you're old enough to remember your family, so you could go. You know, you could focus on your studies and go back home. You know, and then I'd cry to Will too, and Will used to be like, "Yo, don't worry about it. We're gonna make it, man. We're gonna make it. We're gonna go to Philippines and perform in front of your family." You know, and I'm like, "Oh yeah." Right, we could do that stuff. Right. You know, so that's like the mentality of like taking no for an answer. You know, like we gotta do this. He wants to get his family at the ghetto. I'm trying to get my family out of a
poverty.
different ghetto, poverty ghetto, and that was the pact. So it was like we were gonna make it. You know, however, you know, and then I remember we go back to the Philippines. They made a movie. It's called Maalala Mo Kaya?
Oh, I saw that.
And the ending was landing on the plane of the movie. I was like, this is pretty great, man. You know, the whole story. But I'm like, wait. Where's the money at? Saan yung ano?
Saan yung royalties?
It's okay. You know, they were proud. It was like a moment. So we didn't think about that. But, you know, we landed and it was part of the movie at the end. We landed and then doing the concert. And then the army was there. Yeah. The president was there at that time. And me and Will were like, oh, remember? We were walking to the stage and we're like, teary, you know, we're like, remember when we used to like cry? I mean, we used to cry about going back home.
But you know what?
That was that moment.
You know what's so nice about Will, based on your story? He was very empathetic toward you. Kumbaga, talagang kung ano yung nararamdaman mo, naramdaman din niya for you.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like Will, like he's not just brother. You know, he's like every
kuya.
part of your life. Yeah, he's like my kuya. Yeah, that's what it is.